All right, interesting article here on the Mail Online. The headline reads, revealed, Anthony Joshua has floored several of his sparring partners, with some having to be sent home after getting blown away by Britt during preparations for money-spinning rematch with Andy Ruiz Jr. Now, one of his sparring partners is a guy called Timothy Moulton, and he did an interview with The Boxing Voice, which I did listen to. It was pretty interesting what Timothy Moulton had to say. And in this interview here, he says, there have been guys here, I don't want to say any names, but I've seen some guys come into camp, get blown away, and get sent home that same week. He's dropped a few of his sparring partners, and he's rocked a lot. Joshua is by far the hardest hitter I've been in the ring with. Okay, he goes on, he says, almost every session, I ask him how he's doing. What's he thinking? He says to me, ready, ready. Mentally, he's in a good place. I can see that in his eyes. He's got focus I've not seen. He's got that warrior spirit. His mentality is to destroy. He's like a focused caged lion. And when the time is right, he will unleash. He goes on to say, there's always a point in every Andy Ruiz fight where he reverts to that Mexican background and he is ready to bang. We saw that with Anthony Joshua in the first fight. When Joshua floored him, he was hurt and that Mexican style came out. Joshua has been sparring a Mexican heavyweight, Elvis Garcia, who is exactly the same. One time Garcia was hit with a big shot by Joshua in sparring and we all thought, whoa, he's out. But then he came firing back at him. So Joshua is learning to keep his composure, move his head, keep his guard up high, even if he lands hurtful shots. And then on top of that, he has got other guys here to work with his speed and general sparring. He's got a bunch of guys here that are just perfect. We all just work perfect when we are in there with him because everybody is pushing him and we are getting the best out of him. And you'll see the results on fight night. Yeah, so interesting there. Now, one of the things that Timothy Moulton said, which I picked up on, is that AJ's keeping his hands up all the time. And again, I'm not sure if that's the best thing to do because I explained it in several videos before. I did a couple videos on Daily Motion, actually. In fact, I've done a new video on Daily Motion, which I will urge all of you to go and watch. And in this video, I go through the first fight, actually showing the real fight on screen, going through it and showing you the mistakes, the technical errors which AJ made and the technical errors that Andy Ruiz made in that first fight. So head on over to my group, my Facebook group, and it will be pinned at the top of the group, that particular video, that post. So go watch it and you'll hear my analysis pointing out all the technical errors that both guys were making and the things they need to correct. But yeah, AJ keeping his hands up all the time. At close range, of course, yeah, you need to keep your hands up if you're Anthony Joshua. But at long range, I think it's tiring keeping that left hand up all the time. Ruiz doesn't have the speed to cover the distance and get in close when you're at long range real quick like a Mike Tyson and do damage or start countering you with long right hands over your jab. He doesn't have that kind of foot speed. He's got hand speed, but he don't have the foot speed to do that. And there was nothing in the first fight that I saw that made me believe that he's dangerous at long range. He's not. Mid-range and close range, yeah, but at long range, he's not dangerous. So at long range, AJ really should be getting that left hand down because it's tiring for a big man to keep his hands up for 12 rounds. Yeah? So anyway, interesting information there about the sparring. To be honest with you, what do you expect? Right? If some of you are going to be doubting, oh no, because we heard he got hurt in sparring. Look, at training camp, you're going to be sparring with lots of different people. There's going to be lots of different scenarios. In most camps, I'm expecting Anthony Joshua to be flooring people, hurting people, and occasionally getting hurt himself. Maybe occasionally getting dropped himself, yeah. But for the most part, I'm expecting him to be dropping people more than they're dropping him. You know, camp is tough, especially with this particular camp. AJ's looking to spar a lot harder than he was in his last camp. And one of the things that hard sparring might help AJ with, because people have been talking about AJ taking headshots. His ability to recover from headshots is not good, but I think what's even more vulnerable is AJ's body. And I do think that it's easier to condition the body to take punishment than it is to condition the head. If he can manage to condition his body to absorb punishment, but still be able to move around and maintain his energy, if he can get used to that in sparring, I think that's going to help him in the Ruiz fight, because the only punch which Ruiz throws at long range, which is dangerous in any way, is the jab. The jab to the body, yeah? His jab to the body is a weapon which might be able to slow Anthony Joshua down. So AJ's body needs to be conditioned by getting hit in sparring a lot to the body and still being able to move around the ring afterwards, yeah? If he's conditioned for that, it's going to help him a lot. So all the other stuff about him blowing sparring partners out and looking real sharp, that's to be expected. And as far as him having the eye of the tiger, you can see it in his eyes, he's hungry, he's switched on. I expected that, to be honest. I mean, especially after watching The Gloves Are Off, because to me, AJ had fire in his eyes in that Gloves Are Off. Other people are seeing something different. I honestly don't know what it is that they're seeing, because it's the total opposite of what I can see there. I've seen interviews, and I've done videos about interviews where AJ looked nervous to me. In the past 2 weeks, I've mentioned that he looked nervous in certain interviews. But in that Gloves Are Off, he didn't look nervous. I've watched Anthony Joshua his whole career. I've seen all his Gloves Are Off before. I know how he normally is. I know what his demeanor is normally like. And that was a confident AJ. I'm telling you, that we saw in that Gloves Are Off. So, that's my take on it, people. Drop your take in the comment section below. It's happening out.